and nothing new is coming on. You can see that building activity is down even well below what happened in our depression of the 1990s in California. I was asked to talk a little bit about the economy as well. We've lost, by this newest count, 400,000 jobs in California in the last year. More than a quarter of that loss can be accounted for in the construction industry alone. Other sectors that have contributed a lot to the job loss have been, of course, finance and real estate, but also the retail sector, which is closely tied both to the building activity and also to consumer spending, and manufacturing has turned down as well. We have seen some countervailing growth in a few sectors, largely in health and education is where jobs were still being added last year. Big differences statewide, the Bay Area overall, and particularly if you look at the West Bay, the San Francisco metropolitan area, which is Marin, San Francisco, and San Mateo, and the South Bay, Santa Clara County, held up quite well through the middle of last year, even seeing job growth still, but there also trends have turned down as the recession begins to hit larger parts of the economy, but the biggest downturns are still in the places that had the biggest upturns previously from building activity. So the East and North Bay and the Bay Area, and then large parts of Southern California and the Central Valley. And finally, what should we be talking about today in terms of going forward? I'm not brave enough to give you answers. But the kinds of questions we have are, how long will this correction that we're seeing in home prices last? Are we seeing a permanent reset of the button in terms of home prices? And then if that's true, what will that mean for California's growth going forward? And what is California's growth? You know, we recovered from the real loss of defense jobs with a dot-com boom, which then shrunk away. But we didn't lose a lot of jobs in that dot-com bust, because then we had the housing boom. Well, if all of our recovery from defense was the dot-com boom and the housing boom, what are we left with? We should worry a little bit about that and think about what will drive economic growth in the state going forward, and how would lower home prices help California in that period. Okay.
Okay. Michael Covarrubias.
I'm the developer. What do you think I'm going to say? Following John and Cynthia on the economic side and Steve on the finance side, it's obvious that the financing of projects has come to a grinding halt. Whenever people are not smart enough to ask me back to do panels, I found that every time I've ever done a panel, I've looked at the newspapers or my emails or my faxes that morning. There have always been salient items. Today's items are a $100 million non-performing sale of residential assets by East Hill Secured, and the headline from the Chronicle with free fall continues for San Francisco and U.S. housing values. And so those are sort of today's quotes, and you can probably pick up a paper or an email and get one of those any day of the week. I think the long-term question of whether and what the recovery looks like, because there will be one, and everybody in this room knows it, is what are the signs of those recoveries, and what will it mean for the development world? The number one trigger for us has always been and always will be jobs. Jobs drives everything. Whenever we track whether it's time to build an apartment or a condominium or an office building or an R&D park, you're looking at the jobs that will create the demand for the space, which feeds the housing on its tail, and then the retail that comes with that. Jobs are off by a lot in a lot of areas, in the Bay Area in particular. We use Palo Alto as sort of the benchmark for pricing in the office sector. If the world is in chaos, somehow Palo Alto can still get $4 or $5 a month in triple net rents, and Fremont will get 60 cents. It's an amazing 20-mile drive. In the housing world, San Francisco is kind of the benchmark. If pricing collapses to $900 a foot in San Francisco, it's free in Antioch. Nothing personal if you're from Antioch. The good news and the bad news, if you're a San Francisco real estate professional and if you're in the housing world, you'd rather be miserable here than anywhere else, because the odds are it's going to recover faster, and the odds are that the housing prices will sustain higher, and that people want to put money back here sooner. There's going to be a long time before a non-recourse construction loan is made on a high-rise condominium in Florida or San Diego. There will be people thinking about doing them in San Francisco. It may still be a while, but it'll be the place people think about it. And again, it's because this is the jobs, innovation capital, the Bay Area. It's the reason people want to be here, not to mention the weather and all the other good things we all know about. But those are the things that drive development dollars. But at the end of the day, we are still stuck behind the curve of all those lousy graphs on the wall. We are stuck behind the curve of supply and demand and jobs growth. And the killer this time was the financial collapse. And as obvious as it may seem to all of you, I found out that in order to buy something, you need to have debt and equity. We couldn't find either. There is no debt, there was no equity. And so as the world gets better and lenders start being forced to make loans again, that will help, but there won't be any new product built almost across the complete sector until demand gets better, until jobs gets better. If you go through, I think, the food chain of lowest to highest, those projects which have affordable components or are all affordable and have large subsidies and are rental will be the first, I think, to recover. There will be demand for that first because there will be financing for that, and people will need a place to live. The next set will be regular apartments, whether they're 80-20 or whether they're all market rate, because again, while all the other financings have died, there still is construction money to do those types of deals. After that, I don't know that I'll ever see a tower condominium built again. I cannot imagine a non-recourse loan being made on a high-rise condominium without a 40% of cost ratio and huge amounts of equity. And you'll never see two towers again, ever. Two towers is the death knell of residential development because it's impossible to get through one cycle practically with a tower. Try doing it with two. Look around town. It's hard to do. So as it comes back from the depths of despair on the charts, as I said, I think there will be progress in the for rental market leading to some hopefulness on the for sale market. So that's just a quick overview.
And Michael, San Francisco.
Yes. Thank you all. Good morning. You know, it's been a little frustrating because I got a new job. I went from being the director of economic development to the director of recession management. And it's a fairly radical, different set of issues that we're dealing with. You know, one of the things that has really struck us at a local level about trying to deal with the set of problems that we're facing with is, unlike the bust of the dot-com bubble, this is truly a macroeconomic problem. It goes so far beyond the 49 square miles surrounded by reality that we call San Francisco, that we frankly are limited in the tools that we have to address this. As Michael alluded to, the end of the day, San Francisco's fundamentals are probably as good as any big city in America right now. But that doesn't mean much, and it's clearly not enough to overcome the structural financial issues that have been described.